Welcome to my channel. I'm the cover call guy, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be strictly on Bitcoin. It's going to be a lengthy video. It's going to be a really deep dive on Bitcoin and why I owned it. The research I've put together is why I was influenced and persuaded to own Bitcoin, why I think everyone needs to own Bitcoin or Bitcoin related assets. But before we get started, legal disclaimer. This content is for informational and educational purposes only and is not financial advice. I am not a licensed financial advisor or tax professional. All opinions are my own and my own view and may be incorrect. Trading and investing involve risk, including loss of principal. Always do your own research and consult a licensed professional before making any financial decisions. Please do your own research. I am just some random idiot you found online, and I could be completely wrong. With that out the way, let's get started on today's video for the bull case for Bitcoin and why I believe it's going to be at least a $10 trillion asset in just 5 years. All right. This is my analysis, my deep dive on the Bitcoin imperative and indisputable case for financial necessity. Why everyone should need to own some type of, either own Bitcoin outright, your keys, your Bitcoins, or have some type of indirect holding of Bitcoin. All right, the 2025 crisis, we saw the U.S. government, the longest in U.S. history, right, shut down and trigger a crisis of confidence. As systematic trust fractured, Bitcoin rallied, improving its essential role as a safe haven asset. Into the year-to-date 2025 performance, Bitcoin went up 33%. Almost $230,000. Gold did go up the most at 51%. However, you got to remember, a lot of boomers and Gen X hold majority of the wealth right now, so they're loading up. They can buy, you know, they're at retirement, near retirement, or they're just about 5-7 years to retirement, and they're at their peak of their earning power. So you gotta understand. And of course, other countries and even third world countries are hoarding gold, right? So that pushes up the price. Bitcoin is an early adoption phase in my opinion, right? There's still a lot of time for countries and people to start adopting and learning how to use it, learning how to buy it, right? S&P 500 just went up 15%, as you can see, right? The uncertainty really erodes the trust in S&P 500 in the stock market. All right, it's coming, right? Institutions already having money poured in, about $180 billion in ETFs in 2025 alone. Not total, just in 2025 alone, these ETFs have $180 billion poured into it, right? That's a lot. That's a big chunk in just Bitcoin ETFs. All right, the adoption is here. Institutional adoption is no longer a question of if, but when and how much. The strong hand demands provide a stable floor and de-risk the asset for the next wave of capital. People are catching on. The Wall Street is catching on, right? The big dogs with the big money is catching on. All right, and this is just a chart following 2024 having Bitcoin's new supply inflation 1.1%. It just shows that the fiat is you can see fiat is programmed to devalue itself, right? The printer is going to stay on. You guys probably heard the meme and seen jokes. The printer is going to stay on. As they keep cutting rates, people are going to keep borrowing at cheaper rates. Inflation is going to jump. And you know what's going to jump in price? Bitcoin, because of it. Bitcoin was created because it does the opposite of fiat, right? There's a fixed limited supply. You can't just print Bitcoin. And that's just a chart showing pretty much Bitcoin is an unmatched asset in the 10-year CAGR, right? Holding 0% of Bitcoin is 100% allocation to underperforming, right? You can see here 1 to 10 years, it just completely destroys gold and S&P 500. And then of course we have to talk about the political aspect of Bitcoin, right? It's the human rights imperative, right? It's pretty much a lifeline, right? Bitcoin is permissionless. It provides access to a global financial system for 1.4 billion unbanked adults and 4.2 billion people living under financial repression. So again, It can happen. You can get blocked by a credit card company because you might have put, like, a lot of people get debanked, right? Because you never know. You might say it will never happen to me, but you, again, never know. Bitcoin solved this. All right, just going back into the human rights imperative too. Remittance, right? Traditional remittance is using $100. Predatory services charge up to 20%, extracting wealth from the world's poorest. So if you're trying to send money, right, $80 only sent out of 100, they take a $20 fee. That is absolutely insane. Versus Bitcoin Lightning, using the same $100, right? It cuts fees to a fraction of a cent, putting billions back into the pockets of families. I mean, I want to keep my money, and do you? Right? And then the security aspect of it, right? We have to, I want to make sure it's safe, and it has proven to be extremely safe. Bitcoin hasn't been hacked yet, and I know of, and you always hear news of how banks get hacked left and right, right? So the network's security, the hash rate hits a new high of 1,161 EFs, and it just stands for exahashes per second. It means the network is making 1,161 quintillion guesses every second to verify transactions. This digital wall of raw computing power makes the attack practically impossible, securing over 2 trillion in value. So you have a safety in mind. You don't have to worry about being hacked. And then it's not old technology, right? Layer 1, the settlement layer, digital gold. This is the base layer. It is intentionally slow, robust, and decentralized. Its job is final, immutable settlement, like a central bank wire securing trillions. And layer 2, payment layer, right? Digital cash, built on L1 Lightning, and handle millions of transactions per second for instant near zero fees. This is buying coffee and sending remittance. Debunking the myths that it wastes energy. Reality is that Bitcoin's energy use is its security, right? It tethers the digital ledger to the real world, making it unforgeable. It is a driver for cheap renewable energy, with renewable powering over 50% of mining. All right, the myth that is too volatile. Yes, it is volatile, but volatile is price discovery. Remember, it's being adopted right now. It's being implemented in big corporation, and eventually people will adopt it. So right now is in price discovery phase, right, of the new global asset, as institutions provide a stable demand floor. Volatility is dropping. The real volatility is in fiat currency, right? The Federal Reserve printed over 5 trillion during 2020 to 2022 crisis, with national debt exceeding $35 trillion. We're talking about the United States. Economists project trillions more will be printed over the next 5 years. That's not volatility, it's program collapse, right? Fiat currency is going to be devalued even more. You are working for less money, giving your time away. Well, if you own Bitcoin, it goes up. It's giving you your time back. All right, section 1, right? The foundation of value, absolute scarcity in the digital gold standard. Why Bitcoin is digital gold, in my opinion, it has a fixed $21 million, so a fixed 21 million supply of Bitcoin. This is fundamental because it's not a corporate promise; it's a game directly impossible, limited to change, making it the most credible monetary policy in history. Right? I believe is quantitatively superior to gold. Following 2024 halving, Bitcoin's inflation rate was 1.1%, is now verifiably lower than gold's 1.5 to 2%. The digital gold metaphor is obsolete. It's a statement of fact. Hedge against inflation. Bitcoin is the mathematical antidote to a fiat system programmed to lose 2 to 3% if you believe government data. I don't think this, you're probably missing a zero there, right? Of its value yearly. Its fixed supply protect our savings from certainty of currency debasement. Immunity from fiat systems, right? QE, quantitative easing. The Fed is just basically the Fed is just going to keep printing. You can't do that with Bitcoin. It's deflationary by design, right? The halving event cut the new supply in half, colliding with rising demand. This rewards saving, a paradigm shift from debt-fueled fiat system, right? It's a preservation versus depreciation for billions. Fiat depreciation, using Argentina, an inflation rate was 210 goddamn percent, right? As a guarantee of parity. Bitcoin is the only globally accessible non-sovereign tool to preserve wealth. And then, of course, its value. We have to talk about its value, right? It's not subject to central banks. It's robust versus hyperinflation. Price appreciation is discovery. The all-weather asset, right, is unmatched historical performance. It has a dual risk on, risk off nature. Going on to section 2, the architecture of freedom, decentralized and absolute security. Right, we mentioned this, right, and no single point of control, right? Bitcoin is not a country, it's a protocol. There is no CEO to subpoena, no head office to sanction, and no off switch to flip. And then we can do a case study. If you guys ever can Google this, right? The 2022 Canadian protest, the state has successfully froze $8 million in 200 bank account, right? And pretty much there was a protest and they froze all of their bank account, right? The only unseizable asset itself was self custodial Bitcoin. And security model, right? It has a robust cryptographic security, right? And it's right now, I mean, they talk about supercomputers, but I don't think there'll be a time if Bitcoin gets hacked, don't worry about your bank account. That'll probably get hacked too, if that's the argument. Right? Bitcoin is transparent, right? Immutable ledger, right? It means the history of ownership is permanent and verifiable, right? You're not gonna get scammed. You know who's sending you, who you're giving to. It's not trustless, but via proof of work, right? The system replaced institutional trust with mathematical verification. It is more profitable for miners to be honest, aligning economic incentives with network security. How the network is secured, right? Nodes enforce the rule. A common myth is that miners have control. That is wrong. Thousands of independent nodes audit every single block, right? Protection from fraud and counterfeiting. Right? Bitcoin definitely solves the double spend problem. It's impossible to counterfeit Bitcoin or spend twice, the same one twice. And it enables financial sovereignty, right? Like we said again, Bitcoin grants the revolutionary right to be your own bank. Self-custody is the only right that matters in a conflict when centralized power is trying to take it away from you. And then I would say it's a digital fortress, right? Resistance to hacking, right? Bitcoin protocol has never been hacked. It's a proof of work energy, uses it as a security. This digital wall makes an attack practically and economically impossible. Secures digital identity and ownership, right? Not your keys, not your coin. Let me go to section 3, the permissionless system, global accessibility and inclusion, right? This is just a rundown of that is access for all, it's permissionless, right? The real unbanked problem. Basically, anyone is open and won't get debanked, right? It's the human right tool, like we talked about. It's completely cross border, right? Anybody in the world can have this, can access it, and can't be taken away. And like we said, this is another activist in 2025 blamed Burma. His bank account was frozen, right? Then you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. If they're able to just turn off your assets just like that and freeze it because you're speaking out, especially if you live in a country where speaking out can land you in jail, prison, or the death penalty. A more efficient system, right? Low cost via lighting, right? You want to keep more of your money. And the case study is, of course, El Salvador, which extract up to 20% of the remittance. So if you send $100, they're taking away $20. That's a lot of money. You do it 5 times, your whole $100 is gone, right? That's insane. All right, new economic models, right? No credit card required, open investment to all, and facilitates micro payments. All right, section 4, the incorruptible ledger, right? Radical transparency and trustlessness. A system of verification, full transparency, which is what I love about it, eliminates double spend, right? No counterfeiting. Publicly verified monetary policies, right? I can see who 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 owns it, how much, right? How much is in its supply, right? There's no need to trust the private meetings of a Federal Reserve because they can do whatever they want. They control it, right? They can have the on-off button. They can press print, and then what happens? All that money that you've saved up becomes kind of more worthless. The trust machine, right? This is one of the biggest reasons why, right? Predictable issuance schedule, right? You know exactly how much and when it's going to happen. The halving, right? It's predictable. We know exactly how many Bitcoins will exist at any point in the future. No other assets, including gold, offer this, like I said. And they're already trying to find a way to make gold, right? No counterparty risk, like the one in 2008 crisis was a failure of counterparty risk. Bitcoin is trustless. No trust is required. Only verification. Right? It's the only asset with zero counterparty risk. It's an open source protocol. Like I said, anybody can trace it, can see it, can see who and where is what is happening with Bitcoin. We want that. We want that transparency. You don't want to be having your money hid behind a central bank. End of corruption, of course, this is the big one, right? Anybody, total auditability. Anyone can run a node and audit 100% of supply and transaction history. It reduces corruption potential, right? The ability to print money from nothing is the ultimate tool for corruption, bailout, off-book wars, all that other stuff that you pay tax. We all pay taxes for, and the taxes keep going up. Even though they keep printing, what is the point of paying taxes if they just print the money, right? Double-edged sword, lose-lose situation. Bitcoin's hard cap removed this, and it is non-manipulable monetary base. The fiat is constantly manipulated. Bitcoin fixes that. Section 5, technological innovation, right? The evolving multi-layer technology stack, and it's just going to keep getting better and better. Right, the programmable platform, right? Foundation for decentralized finance, DeFi, right? Enable smart contracts. There's a whole bunch of new crypto technology that's always coming out, and it gets better and better. The reserve currency of digital assets, right? Bitcoin, in my opinion, is the gold in a digital asset in that central bank. It is the benchmark, the most trusted on-ramp, and the innovation that started the entire industry. The virtuous cycle, right? The catalyst for all blockchain. Bitcoin's 2008 white paper is the innovation. The entire crypto industry is a direct result of its success involving double spend problem. The institutional network effect. This is a self-reinforcing loop, right? One, adoption, ETFs, price go up, mining up, security up, de-risking, more adoption. This whole thing goes going up entire loop. Unlocking new economies, right? L1 versus L2, the right tool for the job, right? L1 is a little bit slow, but it's secured settlement layer like a central bank. L2 is fast. It's fast, cheap layer like Visa. Both Bitcoin is both. Machine to machine payment, right? L2 micro payment unlock Internet of Things. And an electric vehicle can autonomously pay for charging by the second. This requires native digital currency, right? Tokenization and supply chains. Bitcoin's L1 is the only logical choice for the final authoritative settlement of tokenized real-world assets, such as stock, bonds, and real estate. Section 6, right? The new economic paradigm. We're going to talk about society and the societal impact. A tool for freedom, redistribution of power, right? Remember, if 1% control the entire fiat currency, they own everything. Everything is gonna stay expensive. There's no such thing as deflation. Talk about how deflation is bad, but deflation is good. I mean, why would you want 1% to hold the entire money supply or control the entire money supply? A borderless digital economy. Again, this goes back into just anyone in the world can have this, right? You can have some Bitcoin. I can have some Bitcoin. We can be 6,000 miles away. We can still do transaction. We can still both mine for it. We can still buy it, sell it, right? Preserves financial privacy. Bitcoin is the only technology that protects the human right to financial privacy. When you're using fiat currency, your privacy is controlled by the central bank. So at any time they can come after you seize your currency, seize everything, freeze your accounts. Right, the anti-political asset. I don't want to get too much into this. This is just something that, Bitcoin has a big uh, use for, and the ideology behind Bitcoin was also one of the big political reasoning. And then the cultural shift, right? Um, Talking about the younger 40 and under, right? And besides that, it's inflationary. It's a saver's mindset. Inflationary fiat encourage debt and consumption, right? Spend today, worthless tomorrow. Bitcoin is opposite of that, right? It's worth more tomorrow. You save it, right? Disrupt banking monopoly, right? Bitcoin's permissionless nature directly challenged the traditional banking monopoly, especially the predatory remittance and cross-border payment businesses. And then and again, it's a fairer system, right? New economic incentives, value for value, right? Why would people work so hard to stay poor? That makes absolutely no sense. Tool for government transparency. Everything's on the blockchain. Everything is public. Everything can be tracked. Promotes global economic equality, right? Of course, you don't want. Why would you want the 1% or 0.1% controlling all of the supply, having all of the supply? Section 7, the unstoppable asset, right? Practical uses and convenience. It said it's 24/7, right? And you can see all these banks is Monday to Friday, closed on holidays, 9 to 4, 9 to 5. It makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. It should be the world is 24/7. Why is money in why is it not instant settlement, right? Bitcoin never closes. And that makes sense. Banks should never close. Why would we wait 2-3 days for settlement or more? Right? It's the ultimate portable wealth, right? Easily transferable, zero cost to hold, and easy to store. Separation of wealth from jurisdiction. It's mentioned again. Bank account versus gold versus Bitcoin, right? A bank account is tied to its jurisdiction and it can be seized. Gold is physical, seizable at the border. Bitcoin is secured by a 12-word phrase, right? It could be memorized, right? As long as you memorize it. Or your partner, right? You memorize the first 6, your partner memorizes the last 6, right? And is it necessary for refugees or anybody that's fleeing their hostile country, right? Again, this goes back to political, which I'm not going to get too much into. It's just one of the big reasons. And it's the killer app. What I mean by that is that it's growing acceptance. It's integrated with payment processors, and it's a person-to-person transfer. Section 8, the cornerstone of modern portfolio and why you need it. Why I believe everyone needs it. It is the superior investment strategy, right? It is the ultimate diversifier. What I mean by that is a non-correlated asset. Bitcoin moving on its own terms, right? Enhanced portfolio diversification. Just add a small allocation of Bitcoin, right? Provides a source of return independent of traditional economy, making the entire portfolio more resistant. Right? It has access to emerging asset classes. The first truly new asset in a century. A portfolio with zero exposure is not diversified. It is taking on risk of being left behind by a revolution and by a mass adoption. And this is just a graph showing unmatched performance when we showed earlier from 2015 to 2025. As you can see, Bitcoin just completely washes all asset class. The new institutional standard, as we mentioned here in the beginning, institutions are pouring in, right? There is mass institutional adoption, right? It is a proven safe haven. It is quantitatively superior to gold, as we mentioned before. And I believe it's going to be a generational asset, right? The gold of younger generation, as great wealth transfer occurs, capital will flow into assets trusted by millennials and Gen Z. A portfolio ignoring Bitcoin ignores the next generation. You will be left behind, right? Get on the boat and start rowing, because you will be left behind if you don't even have a piece of it. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to own it, right? It is better if you do own it, but at least just have some direct or indirect exposure, right? It's long-term wealth accumulation. The data is out there. It's clear Bitcoin has been the most powerful wealth accumulation engine in modern history. It's deflationary by design. It complements the retirement plans for those who are worried about their retirement, right? It's very, I would say, it's stable in a way that it does fluctuate, but you have seen the growth with it. So, of course, a a if you're already in retirement, I wouldn't put too much allocation. I would just have exposure to it, maybe a percent or two. All right. Section 9, the monetary renaissance, cultural and philosophical reasons why I own it. Right? It's a vote for freedom, right? It embodies individual liberty. My money, I control it. I do whatever I want from it. Reject centralized control, right? At any moment, someone might not like my YouTube videos, and you know what? Report me, and I get banned, and then I get debanked or something. Right? I don't know. It might happen in the future. Uh, Thank you for the 100 subscribers that I have, but you never know what happens to me. You know, whoever comes across my videos, they might not like it, and they might be a powerful person, and they go and have pull some strings, and then I get debanked. Right? Promotes privacy versus CBDCs, which is basically a centralized digital currency. Right? As cash is starting to get eliminated, the alternative total surveillance is via CBDCs, which is I think it's just digital cash, right? It's basically the US dollar but digitally, like on a Bitcoin crypto system, right? So Bitcoin is completely off the opposite of that, right? It's 100% financial privacy and 100% financial control of your own. A more honest view, right? That's why I love it. It encourages technological literacy, right? To use it securely requires personal responsibility, right? I love the aspect of learning and adapting. It encourages uh, people to learn about new technology and to stay on top of their game. Right? It's a symbol of financial empowerment. It respects property rights globally, right? A state can seize a home back in gold. It cannot seize the Bitcoin secured by private keys. And it's the open source movement. This is just something that if you're technologically involved and in tuned and inclined, this is just people who are um, nerds, right? Basically, tech savvy people that want to be staying in the loop, right? It just supports financial institutions, encourages transparency, and inspire community and collaboration. All right, section 10, why I think is the digital fortress, ultimate risk mitigation and security features that come with Bitcoin. Not your keys, not your coins. And this is the most famous phrase for Bitcoin of those who got into Bitcoin, right? This is the biggest thing, biggest phrase. This is the biggest slogan, is the biggest quote for Bitcoin, right? Right, not your keys, not your coin. As mentioned before, the Canadian trucker protests, right? This is the ultimate proof, right? It has the legal and practical imperative. Ownership on an exchange is an IOU, is not actually owning Bitcoin, right? You have to actually own Bitcoin. You have to actually have your own keys for it to be your own coins through self-custody. Tools of sovereignty, hardware cold wallets. This is the gold standard for security. A physical device that keeps private keys completely offline, right? That way, you can't. You can't be hacked, right? Multi signature wallets. The necessity for necessary step for generational wealth. A 2 of 3 step up. It requiring 2 of 3 keys. Remove single points of failure and protects against loss, death, and even coercion. I love the security aspect of Bitcoin. Right, the ultimate insurance. No counterfeiting. Right. If you worked hard for your money and you start buying stuff and people give you back fake cash, right? That would make me mad. That would piss me off. Can't do that with Bitcoin, right? Backup and recovery protocols. A 12 or 24 word seed phrase is the master key. An individual can recover their entire wallet even if the hardware device is lost, stolen, or destroyed. Right, decreases reliance on banks. Right, banks are not reliable, as you can see. They can debank, they can close your account, they can charge you some crazy fees like Wells Fargo do or Bank of America. Absolutely insanity, right? The resilient asset, right? It escapes capital control, alternative and unstable politics, and ongoing improvement. And then this comes to my verdict, right? What's the cover guy's verdict on this? As you already know, if you watch this video, I absolutely love Bitcoin. I own Bitcoin. I own both directly Bitcoin and ETF. So I like to get my foot into as many doors as possible. As you haven't noticed, my verdict is that the events of 2025 proved again that the fiat endgame is here. Institutional ETFs and sovereign funds are accumulating. I made a video on this, probably like 7-8 videos prior to this, maybe last week, 2 weeks ago, that Bitcoin market value is going to be hitting 10 trillion within 5 years is my expected timeline. Wall Street is already implementing the technology. Lost my mind. Give me 1 second. Blockchain. How did I forget that? Right. Wall Street is already implementing the technology of blockchain. Think about it. Once Wall Street does this, there is no escaping. That means every single person that wants to do business with Wall Street, which is a what is it, like a 200 trillion, 150 trillion dollar market, right? That means the money is going to flow into Bitcoin technology and Bitcoin and crypto space. I hope everyone has watched this to the end of the video. I know it was long and tedious, but if you guys hearing this and you watched it throughout the entire video, Bitcoin is literally early adoption phase right now. It is just getting started. If gold can reach a $20 trillion market value, imagine what Bitcoin can do when everybody has a phone in their hand. Not everybody in the world has even a phone in their hand yet, right? The new generation, the younger generation, 40 and under, they're going to have multiple phones, right? Once Boomer and Gen X starts phasing out of this world, and the wealth gets into the hands of Millennial, Gen X, and I don't know the one after Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen A, I don't know, Gen Beta, I don't know. But my point is, this is an opportunity of a lifetime right here, right? Every day that you wait, your dollars are devalued by a system that requires printing to survive. Every day you wait, institutions buy the supplies that you could have owned. A 0% allocation is a 100% on a failing system. Owning Bitcoin is no longer a want, it is an imperative. And that is the reasons why I own it. Bitcoin is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. If Bitcoin falls, the entire crypto, blockchain, all that stable coin, all that stuff disappears. This is the new technology. Technology is not going to disappear. Technology is only getting more widespread. It's getting more adopted. It's improving. And Bitcoin and crypto is going to improve with it. It's going to go along with it. It goes hand in hand. So I hope you guys are enjoying this video, has learned something. If you were on the fence of getting into crypto, ETFs, or buying Bitcoin itself, I hope this video has persuade you for the better, because Bitcoin is not disappearing. For those who want to argue, oh, it's just a fad. I mean, it's a $5 trillion fad, and it's going to increase another. I'm expecting it to increase at least another 5 trillion in 5 years. Very, very unlikely. Bitcoin is more likely to go to $1 million than it is to go to zero. Fact. And that comes to the end of my video. Subscribe, comment, like. Thanks for your attention to this video. I know it was very long. I know it was a tedious one, but this took me a while to put together, and I just want to make a bold case, an indisputable case for why everyone needs Bitcoin. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned on the next.